Hey, what's up, guys? Combat Critic here. Let's take a look at this upcoming fight between Josh Emmett and Giga Chikadze. Let's get started. If we look at the records of these two guys, starting with Josh, Josh has 22 fights in total and he's won 18 of his 22 fights, lost just 4. If we talk about his 18 wins, he has 6 wins via knockout, just 2 via submission, and 10 via decision. So he is really known for his knockouts, and most of his fights have gone the distance. He has very few submission wins. If we talk about his 4 losses, he has been knocked out once, he's been submitted once, and he's lost twice via decision. Now let's take a look at Giga's record. So Giga has 18 fights in total. He has won 15 and lost 3. If we talk about his 15 wins, 9 of them have been via knockout. So this man is really a knockout guy. More than half of his wins have been via knockout. Just 1 via submission and another 5 via decision. If we talk about his 3 losses, he has been submitted once and he's lost twice via decision. Now let's take a look at the physical and career stats of both these guys. Starting with the height. Height is 5'6" for Josh Emmett and it is 6 feet for Giga Chikadze. So Chikadze will have a huge 6-inch height advantage. If we talk about the weight, it is 145 pounds for both these guys. Reach is 70 inches for Josh Emmett and it is 74 inches for Giga Chikadze. So Chikadze will have a 4-inch reach advantage as well. Talking about the stance, both these guys are orthodox stance fighters. And if we talk about the age, Josh Emmett is clearly the older guy and he is older by about 3 years. Giga is the younger guy. Emmett is kind of on his retirement phase right now. He is way past his prime. However, he has the chin and his chin has still not been cracked. Now let's take a look at the career stats. First up, we have the strikes landed per minute. This signifies the number of strikes that you land on your opponents per minute on average. This is 4.07 for Josh Emmett and it is 4.08, almost the same number for Giga Chikadze. So nobody really has an advantage. Striking accuracy is 36% for Josh and it is 43% for Giga. So Giga will have an advantage here. He is more accurate with his strikes. Next up, we have the strikes absorbed per minute. Now this is the opposite of strikes landed per minute and this signifies the number of strikes that you absorb from your opponents per minute. This is 4.66 for Josh Emmett, which is pretty high, and it is 3.44 for Giga Chikadze. In this case, the guy with the lower number has an advantage. Sorry, so here the advantage goes to Giga because he is getting hit lesser. Striking defense is 61% for Josh and it is 62% for Giga Chikadze. So Chikadze has a very slight advantage here as well, and even in the strikes landed per minute, he has a very small, very slight advantage overall in the striking. I think Giga is the better striker in this fight. Now let's take a look at the wrestling and the grappling stats, starting with the takedown average, which is 0.92 for Josh compared to just 0.23 for Giga. So in this case, the advantage goes to Josh. He is the better wrestler. Takedown accuracy is 37% for Josh Emmett and it is 33% for Giga Chikadze. So again, the advantage goes to Josh Emmett. Takedown defense is 46% for Josh Emmett and it is 69% for Giga Chikadze. So in this case, the advantage goes to Giga. He has a better takedown defense. Submission average is 0.1 for Josh and it is 0.2 for Giga. Both these guys don't really use a lot of submissions, but a very small advantage goes to Giga. Overall, Josh Emmett has more chances if he uses his wrestling in this fight. However, even in the wrestling, the takedown defense of Giga is pretty high and he has a slight advantage in terms of the submission. So Josh Emmett, it looks like, is having a reach disadvantage, a height disadvantage. He has the age disadvantage. He is not the better striker in this fight. The only advantage he has is that his wrestling is better than that of Chikadze's. Now let's take a look at the significant strikes by position for these two fighters. Starting with Josh, 84% of all his strikes are from the standing position, just 6% from the clinch and 11% on the ground. If we compare this with Giga, 89% of all Giga's strikes are from the standing position, just 2% from the clinch and 9% on the ground. Both these guys are pretty much standing, like they prefer to stand and fight. Nobody really uses a lot of clinch work or ground and pound strikes. Now let's take a look at the significant strikes by target, starting with Josh. 64% of all the strikes that Josh throws are to the head, 21% to the body, and 15% to the leg. If we compare this with Giga, 60% of all his strikes are to the head, 25% to the body, and 15% to the leg. So Giga goes to the body slightly more often than Josh, whereas Josh goes to the head more often than Giga. Now let's take a look at some of the previous fights of these two guys, starting with Josh. So Josh Emmett in his last fight got thoroughly dominated by Ilia Topuria, and Ilia was ahead in terms of the strikes landed. He landed 3 takedowns on Josh Emmett as well as a knockdown. It was a solid performance by Ilia and he won by unanimous decision. Before this fight, Josh lost to Yair Rodriguez in the second round via submission triangle choke, and this fight happened in February of this year. The Ilia fight also happened in June of this year, so this will be the third time that Josh Emmett is fighting in 2023. Before that, Josh Emmett beat Calvin Kattar via split decision in a 5-round fight. Calvin Kattar was actually ahead in terms of the strikes landed, and a lot of people think he was robbed. Before this, Josh Emmett beat Dan Ige via unanimous decision in a 3-round fight. He landed 1 knockdown over Dan Ige, which helped him win the fight. And before this, he beat Shane Burgos. It was pretty close in terms of the strikes landed between these two guys, but Josh Emmett landed 2 knockdowns as well as a takedown and won the fight via unanimous decision. Before this, he also beat Mirzat Bektik, and in this fight, he was able to finish him in the very first round via knockout TKO punches. Before this, Josh Emmett had a KO win over Michael Johnson in the third round. So this man has the power. However, his wrestling, he has been taken down and he is on a 2-fight losing streak right now. He is pretty old. Now let's take a look at some of the previous fights of Giga. So Giga Chikadze in his last fight beat Alex Caceres, and this was a pretty slow pace fight for Giga. He managed to win the fight. He was ahead in terms of the strikes, but marginally. And this fight happened in August of this year. Before this, Giga Chikadze fought Calvin Kattar, and in this fight he was dominated by Kattar. Kattar landed more strikes, got 2 takedowns as well as a knockdown over Giga Chikadze. Before this, Giga beat Edson Barboza in a crazy high-pace fight. He was able to outstrike Edson Barboza as well as get 2 knockdowns. Eventually, he finished the fight in the third round. And before this, Giga beat Cub Swanson in the very first round via a kick. He also beat Jamie Simmons in the very first round also via a kick. And before that, he beat Omar Morales in a 3-round fight. He was ahead in terms of the strikes landed as well as he got a knockdown. So this man also has the power. He is getting a knockdown in most of his fights. He got one in the Cub Swanson, Jamie Simmons, Omar Morales, as well as 2 knockdowns in the Edson Barboza fight. Both of these guys have power, but I am going with Giga Chikadze. I think he is the younger, fresher fighter. He is the better striker. We have seen the odds. He has the height and the reach advantage, as well as he has good takedown defense. I don't think Josh Emmett will be able to take him down. Even if he takes him down, Josh Emmett does not really have the submission skills to finish the fight. For all these reasons, I am picking Giga to win this fight. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I'll see you guys in the next video.